All right, good morning, everybody. Call to order the Public Works Committee, Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. The motion to accept the minutes from our January 30th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, department reports. I guess we're going sewer district up front. Sir, yours.
Should be nice and straightforward today. Item number one, our HF1A seeker. The HF1A, I probably sound, like broken record. I'd like to repeat what it is before I start talking about what specifically we're asking for here. It is our stormwater separation project in Hudson Falls. That is going through engineering design this year. We're hoping to hit construction in 2025. Where we are now is we are looking to apply for more rounds of funding. One of the steps towards that is to do a seeker. The District Board of Commissioners has passed a resolution recommending to the committee that the county seeks lead agency on this seeker. So I'm asking the committee today to refer the seeker to the Board of Supervisors that the county seeks lead agency.
Make that motion to send it to the full board.
Second.
No, that's not gonna cost county, you think, just time or
No.
just do a seeker?
Yeah.
Don't they do all of that? Any other discussion? Jay, welcome.
Sorry about that, we got held up out there.
I understand.
And I'm thinking we're okay, because Jay's standing there talking, I forgot all about the change.
Well, just to catch you up, or what's on the table right now is a motion to send to the full board, a seeker for the sewer district.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item number two today, senior wastewater treatment plant operator vacancy. I've mentioned it here and there. Reason I have it on here today, it is vacant. We haven't had any interest or applications. It is a vital position. It's a licensed position down at the wastewater plant. We have a bunch of retirees coming our way, the chief included within the next couple of years. So the way we're structured is ideally the senior operator would fulfill the role of the chief when the chief goes, but we want to have a senior right now. So I have it on for today. I did a little bit of research, looking around, because it's a statewide operator shortage. Right next door in Saratoga County, they have a vacancy. They're looking for a senior operator just like we are, and they're at $66,000 starting. Ours is currently at 57 to 58,000. So what I would like to do, and I have the support of the commissioners, is increase the grade of this position by 2 grades. It'll be a $4,845 increase. The base would then be $62,545. Just to try to attract qualified applicants, and hopefully keep them here once they come. That's the other part of this. In addition to that, I want to revisit our whole structure this year, including all the job specs, and see if there is maybe a better way to incentivize people to go get licensed and move up. But unfortunately, the license for this position takes 3.5 years to get, and you have to pass a state test, which does not have a very high pass rate. So, it's tough to attract people in. There aren't many licensed operators in the areas. You're most likely poaching them from somewhere else. And to do that, you got to increase the pay grade a little bit. And we're still going to be under one of our competitors right here. But I think this is a start in the right direction.
Mr. Sherman?
Is that full time or part time?
Full. I'm sorry.
License.
It's full time. Yeah, depending on the grade of license, the minimum is 1 year for the lowest license you can get. But our plant specifically is a 3A, which takes about 3.5 years, based on a high school diploma. If you have a bachelor's degree, you can cut that down a little bit, but that's not common either for operators to have bachelor's degrees.
Did you discuss this with Danielle and review the increase in grades?
Yep. Yeah, there are other senior positions, other county positions and senior titles at grade 17, whereas
So we're only moving it to personnel for further discussion today, right?
They are.
Yep.
How long has the position been posted?
It was posted for a couple months and then it was filled for a couple months and that gentleman left us. He is now working actually with Saratoga County. And he's been going since I believe November. Yeah, I think 3 months now. We've had a single application.
So what you're saying is we've been a training ground for a higher paying position somewhere else.
Well, he was licensed when he came here, but that is the fear with other municipalities. Is, yeah, you pay for him to go to school and get trained and then they'll leave, yeah.
Captain said,
Well, they're still looking for one in Saratoga at the high cost, at the high pay,
That's 66.
and they haven't found one.
So there's not a lot of them. That's the problem. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Cassie, thank you. I got more discussion.
I just have a question. I don't mean to facetiously, but if we can't attract anybody, Saratoga can't attract anybody to 66.
Yeah.
Why would we anticipate we could at 64? I mean, maybe, should we be up at the playing field to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is based on location too. Saratoga's 24 hours, so I don't know what hours that position will be for. So, you know, we have the attraction of we're a 7 to 3:30 job that is very attractive. You might find someone that lives closer, but yeah, I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't say, I might explore that if we're still not getting applicants after another couple months. You know, it's kind of only the only really cards you have. You know, we are trying to promote from within. Unfortunately, that takes a couple of years.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do you have anybody coming up that can get the license?
We have 2 trainees. They're both going to go to schooling this year, but they started last year, so they're 2 years away from this license. You know.
Cassie, you had a question.
just
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel.
Yeah, so I have 2 budget amendment requests here. The first one is budget amendment for a DEC NPS planning grant. What this is we have been awarded a $30,000 grant. It's for a $33,000 project, so it's a 90% grant. It's for us to do some investigating into an area of our sewer system. This grant is reimbursable though, so I'm asking for a budget amendment ahead of time so we can pay for the work to be done and then we'll get reimbursed afterwards. It'll cost the district $3,000 total.
Motion. Motion, thank you. And second? Sure.
And then my last item is a little bit, oh, sorry.
Any other discussion?
Did you check it over without?
Yes,
So the grant's been awarded already?
yes,
Okay, you just gotta spend it to get it.
yep, okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There you go.
The last item is a little bit more involved. It is a CCTV camera budget amendment. What that is a closed circuit television. It's basically a video camera that goes inside the sewer line. It's a high tech piece of equipment. It's been known for a while that the district is in need of one. And the reason now is that as a result of the evolving situation over in Drifting Ridge, we are required to camera those sewer mains as part of our approved plan with the DEC after the sanitary overflows there. So we went and got a quote for an outside party to come in and do that. They wanted over $12,000 to camera that neighborhood, and that's 1 mile of sewer line. We have 55 miles in the entire district, so I wondered how much it would be to get our own camera, and that price is around $49,000. And you know, we'll be able to use that for decades to come. And for perspective to what we just got quoted, you're looking at over 500,000 to have somebody camera our entire system. The reason you camera these systems is to look for vulnerabilities or deficiencies in the sewer lines. I'm sure you've all heard the term I&I. Whenever it rains, we're getting a ton of extra water in, which leads to higher power bills, electric. We have overflows. That's kind of the reason we're talking about this with Drifting Ridge, so to figure out what's going on, you have to figure out where it's going on.
And this
You
is
put
a
a-
statutory requirement.
Yeah,
You're required to.
well, we're required to get the cameraing done for Drifting Ridge, so we could pay somebody to come in, but like I said, we're 25% of the cost of a new one. It's just that 1 mile.
Age of the lines, you really need it anyway.
Right, and then we now know from the DEC that if there's any development that wants to come into the district or surrounding areas, we have to offset that by removing flow we already are taking on. The first step towards that would be to figure out again where it's coming from, and I think we're gonna get a lot of use out of this camera. Unfortunately, it wasn't budgeted for, so I'm asking for a budget amendment to do that for $50,000. And fund balance,
Something else?
yeah,
Okay.
and but just wanted to say I brought this up with our commissioners as well, and they're the same mindset as me on this.
Can you use that on the water lines too?
No. Nope, it's not supposed to be submerged underwater.
Can you use, the videos for grant applications?
Yeah, well, it would be used for I investigation or studying to create a engineering report, and that report would be used for funding applications.
Also, do you have to have an operator for this camera?
We do, which is a great reason, again, now, why not, a couple of years ago, our collection system supervisor used to run these for a living. So we have a very qualified candidate to run these now.
If a town had a catastrophic failure, could you go to the town with this camera and help the town diagnose the problem?
I would love to, yeah.
Jay,
How much is in the fund balance, or how much would be left?
I don't have the number, it's an L number, but I believe it was somewhere around 500,000 before this. Don't quote me on that, it's give or take, but
Just trying to see how far.
this is not gonna eat it up.
you comfortable with that risk? 150 out of your fund balance.
Move it to finance.
Have a second? Thank you, Nate. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Motion off for a second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Should be okay though.
Well, I think personnel and finance are both on the same day. Maybe you want to schedule yourself to come defend your position on both of those.
Yeah, I can get the number for what's in there, yeah, but this is not gonna stress us in that matter.
Personnel goes first and then finance.
Yeah, 9:30 and then following is finance. March 7th.
That's all taken care of from the sewer district anyway, right? Yes.
It is. It is.
There'll be
They do
11
help-
of us
they
at the
do help
table
out.
those days.
They've helped out towns and villages over the years, a
That-
lot. I mean, that's kind of the give and take that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah, just even going up storm drains and stuff like that, you know, so.
That was my thought when you mentioned water lines, maybe not water lines, but culverts,
Yeah,
drainage issues.
long culverts is really good for it. Yeah, the roto-rooter can, cool. Any other questions? For our guest,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, come join us. Scramble the seats. Morning, where's yours?
All right, let's see, I got this whole pile here. First, we have, oh, you got the results from the last auction?
Yeah.
Just wanted to show you all that.
It's not gonna be back camera.
I got it. All right, so first we have the mini bids. Do they have any?
I don't know.
Okay. So we have some mini bids. We sent some vehicles out for bid. There are, the patrol vehicles, 5 of them. The bid came back for $50,980 each. So that fits our budget. Crew cab trucks for the foreman and DPW. Those bids came back at $50,409.35 each. There's 3 of them. The sheriff investigator trucks, or Durangos, I should say. 2 of them at $45,942.40 each. And that is all from carpool CM budget. So those, because they are all, well, yeah, because the total is of the purchases is over 50,000, those all have to be awarded by the full board. So do we send that to finance? Send it to finance. So we reviewed all the bids and they are compliant and lowest bids, so we recommend all of those purchases.
Remove it.
And they're all under budget.
All in the budget,
Yeah.
yep.
Don't fall out of the chair.
Pass the one, second by John. Any other discussion? All those, oh, go ahead, Jake.
Can you get the trucks to pick up?
It seems to be better now. It really does. It seems to be, and we're very happy that they all came in under budget, so that's a good thing as well.
You're still waiting.
No promises. You're
All those
waiting.
in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Except for the town.
Motion carried. And I think you have some outstanding, you're still waiting.
Well, no, these are a little bit different. So the next one is in carpool, we put in our budget to purchase a pickup truck for the engineers. That came back at $42,740.74. Because that one is below 50,000, our purchasing policy allows us to award that through committee. So that does not have to go to.
That stack up.
That was good too. That was under budget, by $3,759.26. So we recommend to award that to Robert Green Auto and Truck.
Motion, Patsy, second, Tim. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We also have a truck out of DM, which is county machine. So this is the one that carries our skid steer around and stuff. So we had a mini bid go out for that. That came back at $73,100, which was under budget as well. This was the one that we ordered last year and then it got canceled. So we reordered it this year.
That's an F-550, right?
Yes, F-550. So that one has to go to finance because it's over 50,000.
Patsy moved to finance, sir. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, so that is the mini bids. Next is the miscellaneous bids. This is, run of bank, sand and gravel, crushed stone, ready mix concrete, equipment rentals, asphalt, concrete pumpkin.
Kids.
Aluminum siding blanks, corrugated plastic pipe, permanent metal corrugated forms, structural steel and reinforcing bars, bridge steel, bridge rail, and precast box culverts. So some of these you guys go off of. Some of these are very particular to our projects for our bridges and stuff. But these as a group go to full board to be.
We have the results back.
We have the results. I sent them out to the highway superintendents this morning. I did not send them to the supervisors yet, but I'll send it to Deb to send out to the supervisors.
Need a motion on that?
Yes.
To move the full board, Tim, Cassie, thank you. Throw Lance in there as well. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
One of these you wait. I'll be over. Which one was that? Structural plate box.
Don't know about that one. If that is the case, that's our, project.
Those are
The
all,
box culvert?
So that one, I think, is just gotta go to. It's gonna be open on Thursday. There's one thing they'll go to finance.
box culverts.
Yeah,
Aluminum box culvert, so those are our projects. I mean, if you guys want to get a 6 box culvert to put somewhere. Go for it.
No.
So that's lowest bid. No?
Yes,
yeah, that will put out for the finance.
Is that one gonna be ready for finance?
It should be open, bids are opened on Thursday, it looks like. That'll be the following.
bids are open this Thursday.
Any problem with her taking that directly to finance? That comes in.
All right. Next up, we have a project in Whitehall called Gray Lane Bridge Replacement. There's a supplemental. It adds money to the project for borings. It adds $18,430 to the project borings. That's a typical Marchicelli supplemental thing.
That's the resolution.
Probably the resolution, so out of the 18,000, we're only responsible for 5%.
Yes. 20% to begin, but 5%. How that works for people that aren't familiar with the Marchicelli projects is federal aid projects are 80% federally funded and upfront 20, well, all of it's. But initially 20% is the county is on the hook for. But towards the end of the project, and this has always happened, has never not happened, 15% is paid for by the state, which is also called Marchicelli funding, and 5%. So the county is only on for 5%.
You have to do something to go out to the 15% from the state.
No, they just eventually send
Actually,
it. We try to keep track of it.
State time.
We're gonna move it, I need.
Second.
second by Cassie. Jay, Cassie, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next one is a project on County Route 37. This is a pavement preservation project. So this one is, it adds money for construction. So the bid has not gone out yet, but in order for the bid to go out, we need federal authorization to move forward with the bid. So this is the estimate for the project. The bid may be different. You may have another supplemental. And a little wrench was thrown into this project recently where we have to do another NEPA. NEPA is the federal version of secret. So because the project has taken a long time, they want to go back, make sure none of the environmental issues have changed. So this is affecting our bid timing, but what are you gonna do? So this is for $3,076,000 for the construction and construction inspection of this project. Again, it's the 80, 20, and 5.
Almost move to finance.
Thank you, sir. Any second, Cassie? All right. Any other discussion? So if this 3 million changes, we'll come back and we'll amend this resolution.
Yeah, what's gonna happen is, the bids will go out, once we get the federal authorization, the bids will go out. If there is a bid that is over that amount, we will get another supplemental and come back. If it's not over the amount, I'll come in and say, these were the bids, I recommend we put it. So it comes back before we move forward.
Okay. So, this other resolve here for the chairman to execute all necessary arrangements. All we would be amending is the amount, not necessarily all these other resolves, correct? We're just gonna.
Yeah, there's this thing called a supplement, Schedule A. This is an example of the Schedule A. This is the example for that. So this shows where the money comes from. So there's a column that has the total, the federal funds, the state funds, and the local funds. And then at the last page, it's got footnotes, and it tells each line and how it's changed. Recent one says, this supplemental agreement number 1 adds $3,076,000 to the construction phase of the project. Well, it's construction and construction inspection. It breaks it out to how much it is.
Mr. Chairman, when they send us these resolutions to death, they basically say this is what we will pass.
Oh, yeah.
Other than a couple little wordsmithing things,
Oh, okay.
we can't really change what they send us.
So instead of getting just the sum of, we're gonna get the whole thing again.
Yep.
All right. All right.
Yeah, they used to have this big footnote, this do not change.
All right.
That's for that. Next up, our lovely Dix Bridge Road. Well, it's not really Dix Road Bridge. So this is the one that I talked to you about before, where we have to have an inspection that we share.
We didn't vote.
Did not vote. You're excited. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, now we can hit the Dix Bridge thing. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So we have to pay somebody to inspect this bridge. Saratoga County pays for half of it. I mentioned it to you before, but we have to have it in the minutes because Dan won't let anybody sign any contracts here for $20,000 because it's in our purse. So he's, once again, keeping me straight. It is for $36,400, which will be split evenly. We'll pay it up front and then Saratoga. So I think does the chairman have permission to sign that, right?
And we'll move it to finance will get.
They give permission, but they don't have to do a resolution.
Usually
We move it to finance.
move it to finance. we'll
I'll move
figure
it
it
to
out.
finance.
A second.
That's seconds. Okay, any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number finance.
All right, fleet and carpool. So, we were looking into carpool to see why we were selling cars that didn't have a lot of miles on them. So we interviewed many, but not all of the departments. One of our biggest findings is that the served clients for many of the departments tend to live right near you. So DSS doesn't necessarily put a tremendous amount of miles on going out of this area. Same with probation. We also found that a number of departments really go out of their way to be efficient when it comes to car usage. Some of them used to go, well, probation specifically would go on these individual trips. Now they have them consolidated in a north route and a south route. So, you know, the departments are really trying to be as efficient as they can. Some departments use their own cars because they need to pick up a kid from practice or something, so they do that. There's not a tremendous amount of sharing opportunities because some departments have certain requirements like radios in the car, cages in the car. They've even used their own forfeiture money to buy these radios and cages. So, you know, you can't really share, like one department can't borrow a DSS car because it doesn't have a radio or a cage in it. So they're very specific. Some cars are funded or rebated. I'm not quite sure how that all works. The money thing, like DSS gets cars through a grant, I believe it is. And so those cars have restrictions on how they can be used. Public health has cars like that. OFA got theirs through a grant, and those go out every day. So in the end, I guess I'm curious as to what the goal is. I believe the goal of carpool is to support the operations of our departments, not necessarily to add up the miles. You know, but I wanted to know what you guys thought about what our findings were.
I agree with you. I mean, it's,
That goes back to the metric, you know, what's the metric we're using to measure our success? And carpool is gonna cost us, we know that. Fleet vehicles. So we thought mileage was the metric, but it's not, doesn't look like it is, the track. It doesn't tell us the true story. Sam?
This is a trend that's gone on for years, because I did a study with better services, and this is what the same result was, is that you could have it in Whitehall, you could have a stop, four-way stop, you could have 4 county cars there, but there was a reason that they couldn't share. You know, bona fide reason they couldn't share for these types of things, even though they might be at the same time, you couldn't share because they're all going different directions. So, it's, yeah, it's an issue, but.
There may be another metric to measure, just not sure if it's the correct one, and that's just utilization per day. You know, if a car goes unutilized, you know, how many days is it not utilized? Okay, you have available days to be utilized, or let's say 5 in a week, right? 5 days in a week. And it's only utilized 1 day a week. You know, maybe that's something we could look at. But we can't expect to get the answer back right away if we don't collect the data. Not that we have to decide today, but I asked them to bring this conversation in because as we get closer to the 2025 budget, what's on the table every time is carpool or fleet. How can we squeeze?
Well, I mean, what's the intent of the fleet? And is it meeting the intent right now? That's the big question.
Right.
So I guess the real other thing is, if this is potentially a good news story, I would think, because if you have a vehicle life cycle program, all of a sudden, hey, we can keep these vehicles for another couple of years, as long as there are no maintenance expenses that are driving getting rid of them.
Yes, so
I've been thinking about the carpool and how much energy we put into it. And it might have been John who said, here we've got our highest paid employees tracking down these carpool data, which was down. And was that you, John? And there's some validity, there is some validity to that.
You should
How
have had
far
us
you
doing it. We're the lowest.
How much validity would you want to put into this research? I think what you've given to us is kind of common sense, and I appreciate what you've done and how much you've done. And I think the carpool got eyes on, and I think that's probably what we just had. Keep eyes on without further research.
yeah, sometimes you have to be careful about the question you ask. It could cost you more than the efficiency. you
that
gain.
was the point.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yes, sir.
Deb, do we know, once all of the special cards are subtracted out of the equation, the ones that we can't use that are available for repairs, how many cards we actually have left? We're talking about?
Yeah, the carpool cars. So it's kind of like the ones where we're serving locally. The carpool cars in the summertime are going all over the place. There's days where it's empty. And Jamie keeps track of every single car, every single day that goes. It's right on his calendar of who's taking it, where they're taking it. They take it for training. Sometimes OFA or AR, I say it wrong, AR. Anyway, you know, it's the people who bring the meals, they'll need a car too. So we may have more cars at certain times of the year that are not being used, but other times of the year, they are always being used.
So the utilization rate sounds like we're already collecting that information.
Yep. Yeah.
And we can measure that. When it comes time to budget, we can put that out on the table and see if we think our fleet is right-sized.
I guess I didn't articulate what I was trying to say. So we know that social services has so many cards that they can only use for certain things.
Yep.
We know how many that public health has. If we take all those cards out that can be used by anybody in those apartments, do we know what the actual number of vehicles are open for everybody else to use?
Yes,
That's
because those
that was
are,
my question, I'm sorry.
you mean the carpool because everything else is assigned.
Yes,
So the fleet is all assigned,
yes.
and then what you have left is the carpool, and that's where, yep, left was 17.
It's not a large number, but it's kind
No,
of
it's not.
spread out with the other departments.
16. So
Or it's
there's
kind of,
16.
it's what's kind of going, on. It's not a large number, it's not just
Oh, right, yes.
spread out with the other departments.
Yep, 16. It was encouraging to hear all the different departments and the things that they do to try to make it so efficient.
You assign the cars like high demand times to the newest cars going to the oldest and the older cars staying Port Edward, Kingsbury area.
So before I came, there was a process that was different than what it is now. Now the keys are all hanging on a board, and if you don't reserve a car, like if you don't call up Jamie and say, I need this car, usually that's done more for extended periods where you're going to a conference or something. But if you don't reserve a car, those reserved cars get put down on the bottom, and who they're reserved for gets marked on it. You just go in and pick a key. So, yeah, they pick the newest
I was just
cars.
thinking like Port Edward, Kingsbury, you know, close proximity, take this, the oldest cars and assign it to that vicinity. And then all your newer cars go to White Creek or Putnam, the longer ones where you need the more reliable, dependable transportation. The people use the newer ones, then as you phase out the older ones, just keep the cycle going.
Yep.
That way.
That might be a good idea. I don't know if it does that.
It does not.
I guess I'd like to look at it the opposite way, Nate. All our cars are reliable.
Yeah.
And we have old cars that have low mileage. And back to the keys hanging there. The older cars ought to be pulled first, no matter which group it is, whether it's DSS or whatever. Let's get the miles on the older cars and then get them through. That's why we're buying new cars all the time. Not so the old ones can sit and everybody jumps in the new one. And that's my opinion on it. And, the other thing too, on our efficiency like our fuel efficiency on the fleet, I know we've talked a lot about not moving the sheriff's vehicles in the fleet because they're big old heavy vehicles that are not very, and I know that like some of your people need those vehicles when they're going out to the jobs and stuff. But other than that, should we just be moving those and trying to bring in the more efficient vehicles back?
Yeah, that was something Brian wanted to do, is sell them and not rotate them into the fleet. There are some departments that they would benefit.
Right. Yep.
But there are some departments that don't. In our,
Scott had a question.
Oh, go ahead, sir.
Do you know how often we have to pay mileage because there's no vehicles available?
to my knowledge, there's none. They don't submit from.
It's all right.
Overcomplicated things. I wonder, you mentioned paying for training. I wonder if we ever looked at just paying mileage for that.
Yep.
And perhaps not having as many vehicles.
So how does that work? We talked about this when we were at, so the person is covered under the county, but the car is not, right? Do you remember when you did?
So they're sitting right next to you.
There's not sure.
That's an insurance person, I think.
It's kind of a, you're risking your car, the county's not gonna cover your
The
car,
person's probably covered under workers' comp, but car if it gets.
and you get the mileage, yeah. So,
There's
risk.
Yep.
what did I mention? Oh, so the carpool cars don't have a lot of older cars. The reason for that is we cycle those out into the departments. So when you go to pick a carpool car, all of them are 2019 or newer, all of the 16, except for two. One is a 2012, which I think actually got recycled out recently, and one is a 2017. So it's all part of a big picture for where Jamie has to rotate cars out. He starts them out for the higher mileage in the carpool, and then they go to the departments.
So it looks like he already has a handle on
Yeah. very complicated, for sure.
But the purpose today was to give ourselves an opportunity to get our heads around this, because we're gonna be into the budget cycle again, and that's one of the first things on the table. If we have a better understanding of it, how it's managed, we know how much we could probably squeeze. Right now, there's probably not a whole lot of juice to get out of this thing if we squeeze, so. You know, it's something to think about. We'll keep nibbling away at creating efficiencies in the fleet and do our best there.
And I want to thank Devin, Brian, and Melissa. They looked at the costs there and we readjusted them for the budget. That's really helped the budget kind of balance out because we were undervaluing what it was costing us to run the fleet. So the closer we get on that, at least we know where our costs are.
Exactly. The only, anything else for Deb?
I have one.
So you got more?
Did you have something?
Yes. We have a meeting in White Hollow to Great Lake Bridge.
Yep, March 6:30.
Okay. Is that a public hearing or just a
Public meeting.
public information?
Yep.
Okay, because I can put that under a public hearing in my meeting because it was for the county. Does that make sense?
I don't know about that. I mean, I called the,
It's an informational meeting, you're not,
Right, informational, one thing.
you usually call a public hearing if you're gonna pass something.
Right, and that's why I didn't know, I couldn't do that at the town.
I mean, I think you could, at the town, you could. give a
That
concurrent-
meeting I can,
I
yeah,
can give a concurrent notice, sir.
and it's already been not officially put in the paper, but
right. Yep. So we're gonna try to put it in 2 weeks before. The meeting's on a Wednesday and the paper comes on a Thursday, so we have to do it 2 weeks instead, just.
Just make sure, John, that everybody knows whether there's lights or not lights.
did I tell you about them drilling? They went down 150 feet, hit an artesian well. 6-inch pipe was overflowing 30 gallons a minute.
Wow. That's pretty good.
And that's right where the bridge is going.
You can tap into that from village water.
Probably hard as a rock. So that it blurs. Deb, you got anything else?
Yes, so, a while ago, we kind of changed our purchasing cycle of our trucks. And we have come a long way with that. It's pretty exciting. It was very good timing due to the fact that parts were so hard to get for a while and they're expensive. But we had a mechanic retire a little while ago, and we do not need to backfill that position. So we would like to remove a mechanic from our staffing pattern.
Well, let me turn my hearing aid up.
The guys were really concerned. They're like, oh my gosh, we were told if you remove something, you never get it back. And I'm like, well, that's not logical. If you don't need it now, why would you fill it? And if you need it later, I come and we ask to have it filled. So that's my.
I'll move it to personnel.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Besides shock and awe?
That's twice today.
I would say thank you very much.
Can I get a gold star?
Yes, you did, my star. We'll
So
go.
does that mean his wage is going towards a new truck?
And Brian will be very happy about this. All
But you
this-
know, it doesn't make sense.
so just remember this next time she comes back and asks for, well, you know, to have an adjustment.
All the fleet cars are broken.
Yeah, exactly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So yesterday I was at NISAC and we put forth a resolution asking for 250 million to be added to our chips and whatnot. Advocacy Days is next Wednesday. If you want to go, let us know. We have vans going down. We meet ahead with many, if not all, of the assemblymen and senators at one time. Jake Ashby is going to meet with us this Friday at 1 o'clock, hopefully over in the shop if you want to talk to him about that. Any questions on advocacy days? So we got another red flag, it's not even red flag season. So, on Camden Valley Road in Salem, there's 3 bridges, we're gonna redo them all. So we have to redo them all. So the one at the very end was the one that we were going to do first. We have a temporary structure next to that at the moment. There's one in the middle that's not in bad shape at all because there's rare water running. But that one needs to have the deck replaced before, anyway, so that one's gonna get work done. And then the one in the beginning, they do load rating in the winter, so they take all their notes from the inspectors in the summer and they go through their load rating. And that one had to be rated lower than what it is. So that causes a few issues for us right now because we don't have a temporary structure to put there. But anyway, I just wanted you to know there's a red flag on that bridge. We're addressing it with a load rating, with a posting. So we'll post it. But that creates problems for working on the bridge on the upside because now concrete trucks can't go. So just, there's only way, 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, but-
Any way we can place some of these small streams with big culverts? Get it done rather than bringing around with bridges or.
With the flavor of the DEC and the arguments that the new guidance that they're coming out with, no way. Way more of our culverts are gonna turn into bridges. Way more. There's 2 reasons for that. We had a presentation by DEC yesterday about the permits, but one is and he kind of explained it in a reasonable way. You know, our roads are roads, and if there's a blockage in our road, then you're cut off from the rest of the roads that road leads to. And the streams is how they view the same thing. They view streams the same way. So if you put a culvert in that's not properly put in, and this happens often, and they showed pictures of like waterfalls coming out. It's cut off, you know, the fish can't migrate there. So that's one of the things that they're looking at. I think that they feel that that happens more often than not. I think most often culverts are put in properly so that it doesn't interrupt the stream. But the other thing is, well, the climate resiliency stuff. So FEMA's coming in, and this has happened to, I believe, Hague at least twice, where their culvert's washed out, FEMA pays for it to be replaced, the culvert's washed out again because it wasn't upsized. So I think DEC is trying to address that as well in these guidances. The County Highway Superintendents Association got together and we put forth our comments on the guidance and we've submitted them last Friday. Just based on those reasons, you know, everybody sees it from their own view. So no, you probably can't.
Well, you know, you look at some of the ones they put in Vermont after Irene, the huge culverts, you can drive a car through, but at least they could go in, dig out, set them in, fill
Yep.
over, and you're done, and you didn't spend $1 million like we are in Murray Hollow for a bridge that's not stable, so.
And the Vermont DEC, I don't even think they call it DEC, but they're different. They're like not on the same page. But I did hear something about them trying to change theirs recently on an article somewhere. So if they're behind us, then they're not.
Yeah, the other day in the FEMA meeting that we had, we talked about public assistance and VA money. And we were, you know, that was a question that was asked, is if it's washed out, so it seemed to come upgrade to a bigger culvert. And he was very clear that this money is not for upgrades, it's solely to replace and put back into place the culvert that was washed out.
So I don't know anything, that was a FEMA person? Yeah, so I don't know anything about the FEMA people and their. But I do know that you can't put a culvert in without going through DEC, and DEC will make you upgrade it. It's 1.25 to 1.5 times the full bank width, which means, everything gets upsized. So when I worked for DOT and we designed bridges, we designed for certain year storm. As you may have noticed, those certain year storms come way more often than they used to. They really do. They didn't back then. It was not really an issue, you know, and for a few years after Irene, to design for something like Irene was, just unfeasible. But now it just seems like it's not necessarily an unrealistic way of designing.
Anything else, Deb?
Well, I just wanted to say, because I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do this, but we want to put cameras on our covered bridges. They're gonna follow the whole camera policy and all that stuff. So just wanted you guys to know that, because we do have damage to our bridges. Busker all the time. Rexley during the summer, because they used to kick the wall out. But when they redid the bridges, they put metal bars up. So they're flat metal, maybe 1 inch in a grid. So now you can't kick the wall out. Oh, that solved all the problems? No, they go through the roof, which does a hugely amount more damage. So anyway, we're working towards that. I just wanted you guys to know in case you need. Oh,
So are the cameras going to be solely put on the bridge, or are you also keeping the data of who's going down the river?
They don't believe that when we met with IT out there to try to look at them, they're just looking at the bridge.
Because we had talked about that 5 years ago, Jay, wasn't it, on the putting cameras on for Eagleville and the parking and all that.
Well, with the parking and the damage inside.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how long before they think.
Well, we had the sheriff in mind at the same time because of parking over there, so I feel, you know, I'll get together with you guys because you guys own Cambridge has Busker, but with your people who live down there. They got the license plate number on the guy Friday, they stopped him. I don't know if they're just sitting there watching the bridge, so we're looking into that. But we'll reach out to you guys for what you want. Like,
Still have the green paint problem on the bridge.
yeah. They should try the red ones, you never know.
Yeah. Well, it limits it when there's big enough tractors in there. Yeah. You have another question?
No,
Well, she's in the hot seat. Anything else for her?
you said Eagleville.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I guess they were having burnout competitions in it there last year with vehicles and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Eagleville, you know, we were pointing at the bridge, but we might want to point that one side on Jackson towards where you're not allowed to park.
Where everybody parks.
That it?
Yep, that truck you got for 42,000 from Robert Green,
Yep.
what was that, a Dodge? For your bridge crew?
I want to say it was. I cringed at it, but that's okay. I guess. You know, that's hurdle.
It is a Dodge.
Yeah,
1500.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
And the one, crew cabs, were those are Ford or Dodges too?
Crew cab.
For 50,000.
Oh, yeah, that's a Ram. Yep. So we got Dodge Durangos for the sheriff patrol. We got Dodge Rams for the full-size foreman trucks. We got Dodge Durangos for the investigators for the sheriff. We got, geez. Oh, no, we got a
Use
Ford.
Fords.
Ford
This is a
510.
Ford.
F5.
Because you made a point of announcing that.
As if it's stock in Chrysler.
Well, good.
It goes in cycles. Yes,
Yes,
Jay.
could we get for finance, could we get just a cheat sheet with the list of those on there?
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna get everybody at finance that's not here asking the same questions again. What
Yeah.
are they?
Oh, okay, sure. Yep. Yep. I'll send that. Yeah.
Copy paste there, you're well set.
All right, well, thanks. We'll see you all next Wednesday, very early.
Any other
Wednesday?
business?
Oh, for the
Yeah.
orange shirts.
For the orange shirt.
Orange shirt.
Give free orange shirt.
Are you going?
Next Wednesday is possible. Possible. Any other business? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Second that motion. That's all right.
Okay, we'll call the public safety meeting to order. First up, we need to accept the minutes from the January 30th meeting, moved by Jim, seconded by Nate. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And Sheriff, you're first up on the list today. Step right up into the hot seat. You probably want to turn on that.
So I have two things, one of them is a request to carry over unspent funds from 23 to 24, and it's, $70,144. It's actually, money that's allocated by, body armor, and we got it so late in the year, we didn't have an opportunity to order all the body armor. It worked out kind of well for us anyways, because we're on a 5-year, they have like a 5-year warranty, so to speak. So next year, we'll be replacing all the body armor that we need to do, which will be all of that. And then we get reimbursed by the state for half of it. So basically, we're not going to spend it till the end of the year, but we want to carry it over from 23 to 24.
Moved by Dana, second by Daryl. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Yep. So they said.
And then I did have something that's not on the agenda, but it's the annual forfeiture spending plan that the district attorney and I both submit these. And basically it breaks down how much money we currently have in the federal forfeited funds, and then our funded usages throughout the year. And it breaks it down into different categories. So we submit this annually to give the board an idea of what we plan to spend the forfeited funds on. Doesn't mean that we're going to spend it all, but it's just a kind of like a plan for spending. And then, I was going to say, it's separate from, for the new supervisors, it's separate from the regular budget. It's an actual forfeiture account that's audited by the federal government, the DEA, and they're related to criminal cases, not civil cases.
Questions for Jeff? We have to put that right. Right.
Sheriff, on the 9,000 for vehicles. It's not gonna buy a new vehicle, so I assume it would just go towards
Yeah,
additional
sometimes,
funds.
yeah,
added.
sometimes it does, because if we're part of a group that's made up of several counties that have investigators assigned to a team in Albany. So they sometimes seize vehicles, they seize a lot of vehicles, but so if they seize a vehicle that's worth $50,000 and we could use it for investigative purposes or whatever kind of vehicle it is, then we have to pay a certain percentage of what the value is of the vehicle. So it's based on the year and all that stuff. It's based on whatever the market value is for that particular vehicle. So we could, in essence, get a $50,000 car for 9,000 or whatever the percentage is. So that's why it's broken down like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion.
Done, motion, second, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hartford typically will vote no here. Easy team.
I wanted to know it was civil.
Carried.
I'm your.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day.
You too. Public defender.
Morning.
Good morning.
So this is a continuation of the request from last month to change the staffing pattern to convert one part-time attorney to a full-time attorney.
it was approved in the 2024 budget contingent upon funding. I've met with Indigent Legal Services. There is a proposed contract to replace the Hurrell Herring settlement contract. This replacement contract has budgeted $40,000 for CLEs and other legal training. And I've indicated to ILS that's really just too much budgeted on that line. They agree. They also agreed that the part-time attorney or the full-time attorney would be more appropriate, and they were okay with changing this 40,000 to a lower number that would offer funding for the conversion of the part-time. The number in the budget was, Mr. Campbell's number was approximately 18,000. I would propose that the 40,000 budgeted for CLE's trainings and convenings be amended to 20,000, and the other 20,000 be allocated to the conversion of the part-time attorney. And
So you're looking for a staffing?
what I'm looking for, yes, is the staffing pattern change, but I believe through the Hurrell Herring contract that we are about to finalize, I believe, the funding is available.
I'll make that motion for discussion.
Moved by Gerald, second by Jim. If this is still in discussion and there's no contract, that's who's supposed to you. So you're just basically updating us because we really can't act on it yet until your contract is signed. Am I wrong?
I think if I remember correctly, last time we approved change to personnel, but I think it got tabled at personnel, I think funding. So I think it would probably go back to the personnel for
Yeah.
discussion and then finance approved. Right.
Okay. Jay?
This will go through, this will fund the position for you. If the funding goes away, then we'll have a full-time position that we'll have to budget for. Or is the funding
Well,
not
it's-
going away?
You got 60,000 roughly for the part-time position. You're gonna take the 20 basically to bump it up to where everyone else is in staffing pattern.
Right. That's a difficult question because before the settlement concluded, if the funding stopped, we had no obligation. I would say now that if for some reason our defense funding is reduced, we are obligated to fulfill whatever defense obligations we have. We had the benefit while the settlement was pending, that if they didn't provide the funding, then we didn't have to provide the services that they insisted we provide. I think at this point, we may have to, but the funding seems pretty secure at the moment. And they've not reduced what is being proposed to replace the settlement contract. It's the same amount of money that was being offered during the settlement.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to move it back to personnel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the public safety? Glenn was moving first, so I'll go with Glenn.
Every time Glenn comes up, he's got an executive session.
Nope.
Oh,
So apologies for not being on the schedule, but I just found out about this at 9 o'clock. Last September, we had applied for a competitive communications grant with the state, which is between the 57 counties in New York City. That deals with increasing the interoperable infrastructure and our communications abilities between the counties regionally. That's a competitive grant, and we were notified this morning that we were one of the counties that received the grant for $2.9 million. So that'll be used as specific goals for that grant. So that's to increase our ability to talk amongst our partners in the other communities, because we all don't have the same radio system. So that ties that together, and it's just building the bigger regional infrastructure. So it went out by the governor this morning at 9. We don't have the award yet, the letter yet. Once we get that, we'll bring that forward so we can get it recognized for the full board.
Congratulations.
Thank you for the good
Yeah.
news.
One more thing. I'd like to thank you for that training the other day. That was for first time. It was very educational.
It is, it's not the most glamorous training, but it
No.
is.
And you put out in public that I had issues, like nobody knew I didn't have issues already. I was just laughing, I'm going, yeah, I have issues.
Volunteers going to tier 1.
Yeah, right with you.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Glenn. Is there a timing on this? Do we need to move on, recognizing?
It'll be 3 years. We should have, I would assume that the letters are done. They just haven't been sent out yet.
Okay, so next cycle, no rush to get it in, right? Okay. That's we're so tough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you.
No problem.
So, on April 15th of last year, and I know I spoke to many of the supervisors about the light that Washington County was put in by the action of one person in Hebron. And there was just that feeling of, I can't believe the world is looking at Washington County that way. And so his sentencing is on Friday. And so I thank you for letting me jump in without an agenda item. But there's a lot of people here today whose departments, I think over the course of the next 10 months have really shown how great Washington County is. It started with Kelsey Carpenter and many of the people in Glenn and Tim's shop who, Kelsey and then the other people that are with her, she got a lot of the attention. She also had to testify for an hour, but the people there really changed the course of that night. And then we had neighbors who stepped up, but Jeff's department, our first responders, who had to show up, they're all local people. Anyone from Southern Washington County will know the names of the people that showed up. And so really to have that, I think that showcased really what Washington County is about, not the action of one person, but the collective effort that came into it. Even the state police people that responded, Jeff, I think at least 10 of them are Washington County residents, something to that effect. So, out of bad can be good. And I think you all should be very proud of what you've put together as a county and what everyone did together. So I just didn't want, by March, we'll be onto something different. And before the sentencing, I think it's great to recognize. And Kelsey's special. I think when you have someone 23 years old, she managed both sides of the call, but in the middle, took a call about a gun-involved domestic in Putnam. So she had a busy night and managed all of that. And so I thank Glenn's department, Jeff's, the first responders, everybody that really stepped up. So, and I will give a shout out. I think, our team showed as well that we're equally worthy of being a part of that team. So, but in any event, just wanted to thank you all for, it doesn't happen if you don't fund us properly, right? And if we don't have good staffing and good teams. So just really wanted to take a moment. And let y'all know that, I think out of that, I know Sue was bothered in Bryan because it was their towns, especially from that perspective. And I would submit that the view is very different today. And I know Andy and his family are very appreciative of all that you did to support him in his transition out and throughout. So thank you for letting me say that. I just didn't want the week to get by without mentioning that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any others they want to bring up? Anybody at the table? Okay, we're adjourned. You only know